Now we'll see the second part of this chapter, basically welded joints. Welded joints is an economical and efficient method of obtaining permanent joints. We've already seen that welded joints are permanent type of joints. Unlike bolted joints and riveted joints, this cannot be removed at any time during the assembly. It has to be caused damage to the assembly. And welding can be defined as a process of joining materials by heating to a suitable temperature with and without the application of pressure. Basically, there are three types of welding. Welding can be classified into three types. One is called the forged welding. One is called electric resistance welding. The third one is called the fusion welding. These are the main three types of welding. In forged welding, what is done is in forged welding, the parts are heated to reach the plastic stage, and the joint is made by impact force. In electric resistance welding, the parts are pressed together and the electric current is passed through them, so that because of the contact, the metal gets heated to the fusion temperature. That is about the electric resistance welding. In fusion welding, the edge of parts are heated by an oxyacetylene flame or an electric arc to reach the fusion temperature. Then they are joined using some filler materials. And again, the fusion welding can be classified into gas welding, electric arc welding, and thermite welding. The welded joints, the main two distinct applications of welded joints are they can be used as a substitute for riveted joints, and they can be used as an alternative for castings. Compared to riveted joints, welded joints have got lot of advantages. Provide lot of advantages. Mainly, the riveted joints require additional cover plates, gusset plates or straps, whereas in welding there is no extra additional part, and welding assembly always results in lightweight construction. Welding results in lightweight construction. In comparison with the riveted joints. Then due to elimination of these components, the cost is also lower than riveted joints. Cost of welding joints are lesser than that in riveted joints. And another thing is this, while using riveted joints, we have to make the holes in the plates, which results when the holes are made in the plates, it results in the stress concentration as well as reduction in cross-sectional areas. So this kind of problem does not come in welded joints. So welded joints don't have any stress concentration. Welded joints do not have stress concentration. As in riveted joints. Then welded joints are usually tight and leak proof compared to riveted joints. Welded joints are tight and leak proof. These are some of the advantages of welded joints compared to the riveted joints. But they also have some limitations, like welding results in thermal distortions of the part. This is a major disadvantage of the welding because it is causing the fusion of materials, and it locally heats the material to a very high temperature, and when the material is cooled, residual stress gets inbuilt in the material, and it results in a lot of thermal distortions. Therefore, welding will result in thermal distortions thereby inducing the residual stresses. This is a major disadvantage or drawback of welded joints. Now, types of welded joints. Types of welded joints. Welded joints are basically classified according to the relative position of the two components. First, we have a butt joint. Butt joint is a joint between two components lying approximately in the same plane. When thickness of plate is less than 6 mm, it is not necessary to bevel the edge of plate. So, square edge preparation is not required. It is something like this. When we have two plates which are parallel to each other in the same, lying in the same plane, this kind of a joint is called the butt joint. Usually, and this kind of preparation is called the edge preparation. If the sheet plate thickness is less than 6 mm, for plates less than 6 mm, edge preparation is not required. If the plate thickness is greater than 6 mm, this kind of a edge preparation may be required. And in this portion, we will fill the weld material. And this is called a butt joint. And when there is no edge preparation done, such kind of a joint is called a square butt joint. So we can say that this kind of a joint is called a square butt joint. It's called a square butt joint which does not have any edge preparations. And when we have edge preparation, it's called a V butt joint. We have double welded V joints, and different types of butt joints are there. Now, the next one is a lap joint. Lap joint is a joint between two overlapping components, and it consists of a fillet weld. So, lap joint can be shown as this is two plates and it is welded like this. This is the lap joint, and this kind of welding, this kind of a joint is called lap joints, and this kind of welding is called the fillet welds. This is called a fillet weld. This kind of a joint is called lap joint, and this is called a fillet weld. And the fillet weld consists of approximately triangular cross section joining two surfaces at right angle to each other. We can see here these two surfaces are right angle to each other, and they are joined by a triangular kind of weld. This is called the fillet weld. Now we have something called T-joint. It's nothing but joint between two components located at right angle to each other. This kind of a joint is called T-joint. Here the two components which are welded are placed at right angles to each other in form of a T. In this case, the end faces of one component, this end face of this component is welded to this component by means of fillet weld. So this kind of a joint is here, this kind of a weld is called a butt welding, where two plates are in parallel position, and you have square butt joint, V butt joint, U butt joint. Different types of butt joints are also available. And when we come to lap joint, this kind of a weld which has a triangular cross section is called a fillet weld. Even in T-joint also we come across a fillet weld. So these are the different types of welded joints which are available, and welds are classified based on the type of joint. So now we will try to see what are the stresses coming in the butt and fillet welds. Now we will see different types of stresses in the weld joint. Basically we will start with a butt joint, butt weld joint. So two plates are joined in this way. This is called a V butt joint. This is a weld. and we have force which is F applied on both the ends. Now in this case, here the thickness of the plate is H and the length of the plate so this kind of a plate is two plates side by side is joined by a butt joint, V butt joint. It's a V butt weld, and a force F is applied which tries to separate both the plates. In this case, we have a normal stress comes in the weld joint, and the normal stress coming in the weld joint is given by F by area, and area is nothing but H into L, where H is the thickness of the plate and L is the length of the plate, and F is the force applied. And sigma is the average tensile stress in the weld. Throat of the weld does not include the reinforcement. The important thing is this extra portion of the material which we see here, the extra portion of material which we see here above this portion is called the reinforcement. And H does not include reinforcement. H does not include reinforcement, and whenever we go for a fatigue loading or variable loading, this reinforcement has to be removed, because this reinforcement causes a kind of a discontinuity in this edge, and which results in higher stress concentration when we go for fatigue loading. So whenever we go for variable loading or fatigue loading, reinforcement is not preferred. So this is the case of, this is the normal stress which comes in the butt joint. Now we will see the second type of joint, mainly the fillet weld joint. Sorry. In fillet weld, we have two plates kept on top of each other and welded in this way. We have already seen this kind of a joint is called lap joint, and this kind of welding is called the fillet weld. And these two plates are tried to be separated by a force P. Now in this case, if H is the thickness of the plate, the shear stress tau is given by P by minimum area of the weld, and minimum area of a weld will be, if this is the triangular portion of the weld, the minimum length would be the perpendicular distance, and this will be nothing but, if this is H, this length will be H by root 2. This is called the throat of the weld. Throat is a portion which has the minimum area in the weld. So it will be P by T into L. This is equal to P by H into L. It will be root 2 P by HL, or this will become P by 0.707 H into L. This will be the shear stress coming in the fillet weld joints. So therefore in a butt welding we have the normal stress coming, which is given by F by H into L, where H is the width of the plate or thickness of the plate. Remember in mind that H is the thickness of the plate and T is the throat of the weld. In fillet weld we have tau is equal to P by 0.707 H into L, where H is the thickness of the plate, or it can also be written as P by T into L, where T is the throat of the weld. Now we will see the case of a cantilever beam which is supported fixed to the wall by two weld joints shown here, and the force of F is applied at the free end which is at length of L. So now we will see the weld joints in torsion. This figure shows a cantilever of length L welded to a column by two fillet welds shown here. The reaction at the support of the cantilever always consists of shear force and a moment. Now this is a force F which is applied at the free end. Now how do we find what is the amount of shear stress coming in the weld? To start with, how we do is, as we have done in the bolted joints, this force is transferred to the centroid of the weld joint. Since it's a symmetric weld joint, the two fillet welds at both the ends will have a centroid at the center, and this force is transformed to the center. So it will have a force F, and it will have a moment given by F into E, where E is the distance of this force from the centroid. Now similar to a bolted joint design, here also we will have a primary shear and a secondary shear. The primary shear force or primary shear stress is given by tau dash is equal to V by A, where V is nothing but the force F. The effect of the force on the weld joint will be seen in the primary shear stress, which is tau dash. Now the moment at the support causes secondary shear or torsion of the weld, and this stress is given by tau double dash is equal to My by J or Mr by J. So it is Tr by J, where R is the distance from centroid of weld to the point of interest. Unlike bolted joints, where we had to find the stresses in the bolts, here since it's a weld joint, you can find the stress anywhere in the weld joint, and here we try to find these stresses at the points which is at a maximum distance from the centroid. That will have the maximum stress. So this this corner point will be the point of interest for us. So at this point, if the distance is R, then the tau double dash, the secondary shear stress is given by Mr by J, where M is equal to F into E, and R is the distance from the center, and J is the polar moment of inertia of the weld joints. Now suppose these weld joints can be represented like this. If this weld joints represent the throat widths, mainly the B1 and B2, now the total area of the weld will be A is equal to area of weld 1 plus area of weld 2, that is equal to B1 D1 plus B2 D2. And this is the area which has to be used in the formulation of primary shear stress, nothing but tau dash is V by A. Here the area will be the area to be used here will be nothing but B1 D1 plus B2 D2. Now we have found out the centroid location. Now what is the moment of inertia of the weld about the center point? So we will find, if suppose this is weld 1 and this is weld number 2, we'll take weld 1. The moment of inertia about its own axis is given by B1 D1 cube by 12, where this is the weld, this is B1, this is D1. So if you draw a centroidal axis for that weld, this is x axis and this is y axis. The moment of inertia about the centroidal axis for this weld is given by B1 D1 cube by 12. Similarly, Iyy will be given by B1 cube D1 by 12. Therefore, the polar moment of inertia, that is Izz, will be given as sum of Ixx plus Iyy. This is nothing but B1 D1 cube plus D1 B1 cube by 12. Now this can be written as A into B1 square plus D1 square by 12. This is the moment of inertia of the first weld about its own centroidal axis. Now what will be the moment of inertia of this weld? What will be the moment of inertia of this weld about the centroid of the weld joints? Now in this figure we can see you have the force and moment acting in the centroid. This causes a primary shear and a secondary shear at the weld joints, and this has a resultant. Now we have found the polar moment of inertia of weld 1 about its centroid. So polar moment of inertia about the centroidal axis IC will be equal to IZZ plus A into H square, where H is the distance between the centroids. So the distance we can say take it as, if suppose if this is the plate, so this distance if we take it as R0, this distance between the centroids, that is this point and this point, if this distance is taken as R0, we have ICC is equal to A into B1 square plus D1 square by 12 plus A into R0 square. In this expression we know that B1, we know that this is B1, this is D1. So B1 is much greater than D1. Therefore B1 square will be much greater than D1 square. Therefore D1 square can be neglected from this equation, and we get this as A into B square plus RO square, B square by 12 plus RO square. This will be the I about the centroidal axis for one weld. Therefore for both the welds it will be into 2. This will become A into 2A B square by 12 plus R0 square. This is the moment of inertia, the polar moment of inertia of the complete weld about the center point is given by this relation. Therefore now we can find what will be the secondary shear stress, which is given by tau dash is equal to M R by J. Now M is equal to F into E, and what is R? R is the distance of the weld from the center. This length will be R. Distance of this point from the center is R. And what is J? J we have already found out this way, B square by 12 plus R square. So in this expression we can see that the throat width does not come at all, because since it is very less we have taken it as negligible. Now so we get the primary shear stress as tau 1 dash is equal to F by A. A is nothing but B1 D1 plus B2 D2, and secondary shear stress as this value. So given any problem we can find the numerical value of the secondary shear stress as well as the primary shear stress, and then we can find what will be the resultant shear stress, which is given by the parallelogram law, because these two shear stress will be concurrent coplanar forces. So we can find the resultant by parallelogram law, and this will be the maximum shear stress in the weld joint. This is almost similar to that of bolter joints. Now we will see how to apply this principle in a problem. Now we will try to solve a problem. Here a welded connection is shown in the figure is subjected to an eccentric force of 7.5 kilonewtons. Determine the size of the weld. Size of the weld if the permissible shear stress of the weld is tau allowable is equal to 100 Newton by mm square. So this is the maximum shear stress which is allowed in the weld. So what will be the size of the weld? Now before starting we have to find out what is the primary. We know the primary shear stress is given by V by A. For that we need the area of the weld. Area of the weld will be given by 50 into T into 2, that's equal to 100 T, where T is the throat of the weld. and it's the centroid location, because of symmetry it will be at the center point only. Because of symmetry the centroid will be at the center point only. Therefore E, which is the distance of the force from the centroid, will be 100 plus 25 will 125. And therefore the moment will be equal to F into E. This is equal to 7.5 kilonewtons. That is 7500 into 125. 7500 into 125 will be equal to, that is equal to 937,000 Newton millimeter. This is M. And what is V here? V is nothing but 7500 newtons here. So what is a primary shear stress? Primary shear stress tau dash is given by V by A. That's equal to 7500 divided by A. A is nothing but 100 T. So this will be 75 by T. Okay. Now tau double dash we know is equal to mr by J. We know what is M. So what will be R? Now we have two weld joints. So we know that this distance is 25. Therefore this distance will be, and this distance is also 25 because of the half of the height 50 given. So it will be 25 root 2. Therefore we have R is equal to 25 root 2 and M is equal to 937,000 Newton mm. Now the only thing we have to do is we have to find what is J. J we have already seen. J is equal to A by A into L square by 12 plus R square. That is, if we have a weld here, we have two welds, weld 1 and weld 2. The moment of inertia Ixx will be given as, if this is thickness is T and width is B, Bt cube by 12 plus Tb cube by 12 will be Izz of weld 1 about its own centroid. So this we can assume it to be Bt cube by T B cube by 12. Therefore I about the centroid will be equal to Tb cube by 12 plus A into H square. That's equal to A into B square by 12 plus R square. The H is nothing but distance between the centroids. Distance between the centroid will be equal to 25 mm. So the ICC is therefore for the both the welds, ICC, the moment of inertia, the polar moment of inertia of both the welds about the centroid location will be 2A into B square by 12 plus R square. That's equal to 2 into, and A of the weld we have got as 100 T. And what is B? B is the width of the weld, that is this length. This length is B, that is equal to 20 mm, 50 mm, sorry. So 50 square by 12 plus R is the distance of this centroid from this center, that will be 25 plus 25 square. So this will come out to be 50 square by 12 plus 25 square into 200. This is equal to 666.67 T. This is the polar moment of inertia of the weld about the center point. So we have the secondary weld, secondary shear stress tau dash is tau double dash is equal to mr by J, that's equal to 937,000 into 25 root 2 divided by J is nothing but, this will be equal to in this area of the weld, the 100T is the area of both the welds. Therefore, the multiplication of 2 is not required because it's already taken care of. So this will be 166,667 by 2. It will be 83,333.35. This by 2. So this will be 93,700 into 25 into square root 2 divided by 166.67 by 2. This will be equal to 397.8 by T, Newton per mm square. So this is the secondary shear stress, and primary shear stress is nothing but V by A. This is 75 by T. This we have already found out. Now what will be the resultant shear stress? Now we have, this is my weld 1. So at this point, I know the primary shear stress is given by 75 by T, and the secondary shear stress is given by 397.8 by T. So in this case, what will be the resultant shear stress? In this case, we know that this angle of between the weld will be equal to 45 degree. Therefore, the resultant can be found as root of tau 1 dash square plus tau double dash square plus 2 tau double dash cos 45. This is nothing but 1 by T, the square root of 75 square plus 398.7 square, so 397.8 square plus 2 into 75 into 397.8 into cos 45. This will come out to be 454 by T. So this is my resultant shear stress, and this should be equal to my allowable shear stress, which is nothing but 100 Newton by mm square. So this gives my thickness of the throat of the weld to be 4.54 mm or nearly 5 mm. So throat of the weld should be 5 mm. So this way we can find out what we can design the size of the weld given the loads and length for which the weld is there. We can find out what is the dimension of the throat or the thickness of the weld required for withstanding this kind of load. So in the earlier portions we have seen the weld joint subject to torsion. So now we will see what happens to weld joint subjected to bending moment. What kind of stresses come in those kind of weld joints. Now we will see the weld joint subject to bending. The case is shown here. A cantilever beam of rectangular cross section is welded to support by means of fillet welds 1 and 2. The eccentric, now what is the kind of stresses which comes in this weld and how do we do the design of this weld? Now we know that this force F acting at this point can be shifted to this centroid of the weld joints by an additional moment also will be coming. So when the force is shifted from this point to the centroid, the force will get shifted along with a moment which is given by the force into distance between the two axes, which is Fe. Now we know that from this diagram the effect of this force F will be to produce shear in this weld joints, and the effect of this moment or couple Fe on this Fe will be to produce a normal stress on this weld joints. So here we are going to get a combination of shear stress and normal stress. So we'll see what are the values of the stresses we are getting in this kind of a case. So here we can say the shear stress tau, the shear stress tau 1, which will be given by P by A, or sorry, it will be P or F by A, and A is the area of the weld. In this case it will be B1 D1 plus B2, D2. It's a complete area of the weld, where B1 is this length and D1 is this length. And this will be the shear stress in the weld joint. And what about the normal stress? Normal stress will be the bending moment into Y by I. Now what is I? I is the moment of inertia of all the welds about the neutral axis, and Y is a distance from the neutral axis. So here in this case, neutral axis will be the axis passing through this point. So that is nothing but Ixx. So Ixx of the weld about its sound centroid is given by BT cube by 12. The moment of inertia, the Ixx, so BT cube by 12, that will be the moment of inertia about the centroid of this weld. Now we want to transfer this moment of inertia about this axis. Therefore, moment of inertia about the centroid will be equal to Ixx plus A into h square by parallel axis theorem. This is equal to BT cube by 12 plus area of the weld is BT into the distance. We will assume it to be, the total length will be, can be assumed as D. So we can take, it will be D by 2 whole square. Since T cube will be very negligible, so we can take it, this is almost equal to 0. So this can be written as BT into D square by 2. That is the moment of inertia of the complete weld about the centroid, of the weld joint. This is given by BT into D square by 4. Now this is the moment of inertia for one weld about the centroid. Therefore, moment of inertia of both the weld will be equal to 2 times of this BT into D square by 4. This will be equal to BT D square by 2. This is the moment of inertia of both the weld joints, this and this, about the centroidal axis given here. Now we have the values. We have sigma is equal to my by I, m, and what is y? Y is nothing but d by 2 by I is bt d square by 2. Now we know what is sigma square and we know what is tau square. Therefore, the maximum shear stress will be equal to square root of sigma by 2 whole square plus tau square. This is by the maximum shear stress. When we have a combination of normal stress and shear stress will be given by square root of sigma square plus sigma by 2 whole square plus tau square. Now sigma is given by this relation and tau will be given by this relation P by A. So we know tau, we know sigma, so you can find what is the maximum shear stress in this kind of a weld joint. So thus we can design the weld joints when it is subject to a bending also. Now we will take another problem. We have a shaft of rectangular cross section which is welded to a support by means of fillet weld shown here. Determine the size of the weld if the permissible shear stress or tau allowable is limited to 75 Newton per mm square. Now how do we start with this? Now we have to find what is the total area of the weld. Total area of the weld will be given by (150t plus 100t into 2). This is equal to 500t mm square, where t is the throat of the weld. Now the primary shear stress tau 1 is equal to P by A, that's equal to 25 kilonewtons divided by 500 T. This will be equal to 50 by T Newton per mm square. Now the secondary, now we know the bending stress is given by my by I. That m is equal to 25 into length is 500 mm. So this much Newton mm. So we know that. And y is equal to the height by 2, 150 by 2. And what is I? I is the moment of inertia of the complete weld about the centroidal axis, which is this axis. Now if we consider this as weld joint 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Now for the weld 1 as well as weld 3, the moment of inertia about its own axis is given by BTQ by 12, and moment of inertia about the centroidal axis is given by BTQ by 12 plus BT into d square. This is almost equal to BT d square. D square by 4. We have already seen this. Therefore, ICC for 1 as well as 3 will be equal to 2 times BT d square by 4 is equal to BT d square by 2. And about weld 2 and weld 4, the moment of inertia about the x-axis is given by T b cube by 12. Therefore, I about centroid will also be equal to same T b cube by 12. Two weld joints are there, so ICC about the moment of inertia about the centroidal axis for weld 2 and 4 together will be T b cube by 6. Therefore, the total moment of inertia will be equal to BT d square by 2, that is for weld 1 and 3, plus T b cube by 6, that is for weld 2 and 4. Or we can take it as a T outside, we get as BD square by 2 plus B cube by 6. This will be the total moment of inertia of both the weld joints about the centroidal axis. Here B is equal to, so I will write as B1 and B2 because both are different. So B is equal to B1 is equal to 100 and B2 is equal to 150. So we get 100 T into D square. D square is equal to 75. 70 square by 2 plus T into B2 square is 150 square by 6. So you can take it T outside. So we get 100 into 75 square by 2 plus 150 square by 6. So this is 150. So this we get this 75 into 150 square into T. Therefore, we can get a bending stress as my by I, that is equal to m we have already found out to be 25,000 into 500. Y is 75 by this is 75 into 150 square T. This will come out to be 555.5 by T Newton per meter square. This is the normal stress. And shear stress we have already found out, it's 50 by T. Therefore, the maximum shear stress is equal to sigma by 2 whole square plus tau square. This is equal to square root of 555.5 by 2 T, okay, plus 50 by T square. 555.55 by 2 square plus 50 square is equal to square root is equal to. This will be equal to 282.24 by T Newton per mm square. And the allowable shear stress of the material is given as 75 Newton per mm square. So therefore 282.64 by T should be equal to 75, which gives T as by 75 will be equal to 3.76. So the throat of the weld should be 3.76 mm and the height of the weld should be root 2 T. That will be equal to 5.32, or roughly we can take it as 6 mm. So the height of the weld or the thickness of the weld should be 6 mm and throat of the weld should be 3.76 mm. So this way we can solve the problems for the, we can design the weld for bending load also. So we have seen design of weld joints for shear loads, for the torsion loads as well as the bending loads. Now we'll see one problem. A permissible stress in a fillet weld is 100 Newton per mm square. The fillet weld has equal length of 15 mm each. The allowable shearing load on weldment per centimeter length of weld is. So in this case it's almost straightforward. Therefore the load, the shear stress is given by P by 0.707 H into L. Therefore load is equal to, now they have asked load force per unit length will be equal to 0.707 H into tau. This is equal to 0.707 into H is 15 into tau is 100. So this will be equal to 707 into 1500. This will come to 10.6 kilonewtons. Because they have asked the length in centimeters, so it comes to 10.6 kilonewtons as the load per unit length in centimeters. So in another question we have a 60 millimeter long and 6 mm thick fillet weld carries a steady load of 15 kilonewtons along the weld. The shear strength of material is 200 MPa. What is factor of safety? So this is also we know that the shear strength is given by P by 0.707 H into L. So that is equal to 15,000 divided by 0.707 into H. H is 6 mm. The L is 60 mm long. So this will be 15,000 divided by 0.707 into 60 into 6 to 58.93 MPa. So factor of safety is equal to the allowable shear strength of the material by tau. It is 200 by 58.93. That will come to 3.4. This is a problem which was asked in GATE 2006. So these kinds of problems are pretty easy and can be solved very easily once you know the concepts on the fillet weld joints and design of fillet weld joints to take the axial load, shear load, bending load and torsion load. So this kind of problem can be easily solved. So with this we come to the end of the design of welded joints, basically butt joint as well as fillet joints, and design of joints for taking the shear load, and design of welded joints for the torsion loads and as well as bending loads. So with this we finish this chapter on welded joints. Next we will see the design of riveted joints.